In the first lab of our database systems, we are going to learn about why we need database systems. So to build the context of the need of database systems, we are going to cover this example with these objectives that to let you realize why can't we use files to store data of information management systems, and we are going to perform basic data handling using general purpose programming language like Java without DBMS, to emphasize the importance of DBMS, like we will be not using any DBMS software in our current example. So the case study that will help us to realize the problems with storing data and files is that we have students and we have transcripts data, and the student we have its ID and name with for example these values, and then on the transcript we have three columns like the course, the GPA in that course that student earned, and the student ID. And this line shows you that which student has studied which course with what CGPA. So this is our context of the study, and now we are going to implement this case study using files. In files we will be storing our data and then retrieving it from the files and then deleting some data in files, and at the end we will realize that what problems we are facing when we store data in files. So let's proceed. When we want to generate information from our data, so it's not easy when you are doing it in files instead of in your DBMS software. For example, in the current case study, if you want to find these information like how many students have passed database system course and how many courses are passed by student Muhammad, right, and how many students were failed in operating system, or what is the average GPA of students. So these are the different kinds of information that we can generate from these two tables or these two data sets. So further, let's go to the solution that we are going to see in Java. So I'll be opening NetBeans, exit the screens. Later on we will be discussing these problem in the context of our example. So I have created a simple project in Java. You can create by going into the file in new project, then select a Java application, so it will create your project. So the default package was like main student transcript system, the package, and in that package this was our first class which was created. After this I have started implementing the case study. So to follow the model view separation principle, I have created a separate package for the business logic BL, okay, and separate package for the user interface. So I am separating my view from my model, okay. So what I did, the first I designed the user interfaces. So this was my first interface which we will be calling from this main method, okay. You see, we say that okay, new main dashboard dot set visible true. So I am creating the object and then I'm making it visible to on the screen. So the object of this class will be created, and when it is first called, so this constructor is called, and what happening inside the constructor, it is initializing its component, and then I'm loading the student data and then the transcript data inside the tables on this dashboard, which we can see here. So in the designing view, we have just a label which I have capitalized, and which I have the font size is increased. So we have this label. Then for showing the students data I have this table, and for showing the transcript data I have this table. First we are going to start with the aid student code. Okay, so you can drag and drop these controls from the NetBeans containers and design your UI. So the UI is just simple. I have not focused on its layouts and coloring scheme or anything else, just to present you a simple example. So in the add student, I am going to first add a student in my file. Okay, so you just double click it, and what I am doing is I have created another form, user interface form for this, which is add student, and I am making that visible. What we are going in the add student, I have also, that is also a view, so I have also created it under the user interface package. And in the add student, what we have is we are calling this constructor, and we are passing the main dashboard object here, so that I can go back there and hide this one or destroy this one. In this files, what we have is that just the label that here we can add new student here, the ID of the student and the name of the student, and then if some error is occurring, we can show that with this label. And the add button, so behind the add button, when you double click it, you can see the code. What I am doing here is that I am reading the ID from the text field ID, and then from its name from the text field name. I have renamed it. The way to rename it, in a NetBeans or in these forms, you can just right click on it and say change variable name. So whatever name you give to it, you can access it in the code with that name. So this is like text ID. So on the backend, we are using text ID .get text .set text and so on and so forth. So I have read both of the ID and name from the form when the user will fill it, and he has clicked the add button. So I have read these values, and now I am separating my business logic. I am not doing I don't have to write the business logic over here. So what I am doing is that student management, I am doing that in the student manager class, and I am doing the transcript in the transcript manager class under the business logics. You see, so this is the student manager and this is the transcript manager, and these are the objects I will be manipulating about on these two managers. Okay, this is just to be consistent with object oriented approach, and also following the model use separation principle. So I have created its object, and then I am calling that okay, add a student in file, and I am passing these two variables over there. So if the file is created, it will be returning to me the message is created, and if the message is null, I assume it that okay, everything was okay and the student was added successfully. So I'm enabling the main dashboard, and I'm hiding this add student form, and then on the main dashboard I am calling the load students method to refresh the data inside my tables. And if some errors has occurred, like in this method, so I will get the error message, and I am showing that error message in the LVL message. So now let's go to the add student and file method. Over here you can see that I have just opened the file object. It is good approach to define your constant, whatever you are using in the file. You can see I am using my constant and some other method as well. So if I change the name of the file, it will be changed everywhere easily. So that's good for maintenance. You should follow these practices. So I have created my file object, and then I am doing that create file if not exist. So this is just a simple method, or you can see it here, and just check that okay, if this object is not existing, then create it. It is the built-in method of the file class. Okay, so I just created it, so with this name a file will be created. So after creating the file, what I am doing is I am writing this data as a new student to the file, and my approach is to separate these two data of the same student by exclamation mark, and then ending this record by the carriage return and next line. So every line has one student record, and one student record has two data values. One is its ID and another is its name, separated by the exclamation mark. And when I write it, so I then close it and the record will be written to the file. One thing you need to notice is that when you are creating the file writer object, if you do not pass the true value here, so it will be created in the create mode always. So each time it is coming and writing the data, it will overwrite the file. Okay, so if I provide it true over here, it means that I am opening this file writer in the appending mode. So whatever data is before this record, those lines will not be overwritten, and this line will be appended at the end. You see, I'm appending it. Okay, so my writer dot append a new line with the ID separator and then the name and then the next line. Okay, so the record has been added now. Now let's go back and see how we are loading the data in the main dashboard. So in the main dashboard, when it is loading, inside its constructor I am calling the load students method. Okay, so how it is working, I'm also again creating the object of the student manager, and I'm calling its method to get the students data from the files, and I have got it in this object, and then I'm passing it to load student method this list. You see these are the generics. If you have seen in the Java, or if you don't have seen, you should study about it, that what are the generics. Generics are the advanced topic in programming, new object oriented programming languages. So you should study about generics. You will then know that we can set up the any type of objects over here. So array list is implemented as a generic list. You can provide it any object here, like circle, driver, car, whatever you like. Okay, so this same class is used for any type of object. So this is generics provide you dynamic type system. Okay, so this list is then provided to this method, and I'm just iterating it over here. So now how we bind our data to the table. You see, it is just a simple table, and I have not done any settings for it. Only I know its name, that its name is JTable1. On the backend, how I am binding my data to this table is that I have to set its column. So there is a built-in class default table model. You have to set this model, and then you say that okay, JTable1, set your model to this data. Okay, which I will be setting, and how I am setting it. First I am setting its column. So this is my own method. I am just passing it in array of strings. I say that okay, the first column will be ID and the second column header will be name, and when it comes to the set table, so let's go to there. What I am doing here is that okay, column names are received in the form of an array of string, and I say that okay, default data model, just initialize it, and the column names are these columns dot length. This object I have created array of object, we have to pass it the array of objects. Okay, so this is the for each statement. Okay, this is simple, not for each. I say that okay, for loop from 0 to the length of the column, go on and set the names one by one in these column names array of object. Okay, so at I set up the ID, and then on the second I set up the name, and then at the end when the loop exits, so all the column names are now in the column names array object, and I say that okay, model, set your column identifiers to these columns and return me the model. So this model can then I bind to the JTable1, and those will be the header of the columns. Okay, so let's go back to the header settings method. Okay, viewer in the load student method, you can control and then click on the method name, so it will automatically navigate to there. Okay, so in the default model, or I have got the model which I can bind to the JTable1, and now I have to bind my data. Okay, so I say that okay, there are two columns, so I set up 2 over here, area of object of 2, and I say that this is now the syntax for the for each. There is an advanced version for the for loop which is for each. So what I'm doing here is that okay, I have got that list, and the list contains list of students, right? So I say that okay, pick them one by one, student std in this list. So on the first time it will get the first list object, and then say that okay, student dot id, store it at column 0 in the row data, and in column 1 put the name of that object, and then add this row to the model. Okay, this model has already created with the header columns. So the header columns are added, and now I have added the data, all the data, and now I am saying that okay, JTable1 set your model to this. So the data will be bound to the table, and it will be displayed to you. So now we have read all the data. One thing that is left, that how we are reading the data from the files. Okay, so let's go through that section, which I haven't explained to you. So let's go to the get students method. Okay, how we get this data. So with control I'm clicking get students, and now I'm in student manager on this method. So this method is returning me the array list of type students. So I have initialized this list. This is how you initialize it, and then I'm creating the file object. I have opened the same file again, and now I say that okay, if the file exists, so what you have to do, use the scanner class object. Scanner is also again the API built-in class. You can see java.util.scanner. I hope you have already used it from the command prompt case. We can also use the scanner class for reading and writing from the files. So I'm using it here for the reading purposes. I say that okay, my reader be the scanner, and take this file object. So now I'm going through my reader that has next line, as long as it has next lines. So read that line data, and now I know that the format of my file is that every data value is separated by exclamation mark. So I have split it by this dot split method. What it will do, it will make an array of string and assign that array of string to the line parts object. Okay, I have already declared it over here. You should not declare variable inside the loops. This is a common practice you should follow. So from this line parts, I know that okay, I'm creating the student object, and I'm setting its public properties ID and name. You should not declare them as public, but for the sake of simplicity, to do it quickly, I have not went into the details of access modifiers. Okay, so over I'm directly setting its public variable, and the column 0 was the ID, and column 1 was the name, and the object is initialized. Now I'm adding that object to the list. So all the rows will be read, and then student objects will be created, and every object is added to the list. And then at the end I'm closing my, you have to close it. Okay, if you forget to close it, then another application will not be able to open this file until this exe is running. Okay, so it will hold your file in the reading mode. It is like you have opened a file in the notepad, and then you are opening the same file in some other editor application, and that gives you that I cannot open it because it is being used by some other application. So you have to remember to close the file writer. I have closed it, and now I have just returned this. So now how to read the data? I have read the file data, and I have returned it in a very good way in array of objects. Okay, so on the main dashboard, let's go and see. Let me quickly show you the delete, how we are deleting the students from the list. So when you click on the delete option, it is just reading the value that okay, in the JTable1 dot get model dot get row. And now what is selected row, I have just declared it outside here, and when you click inside the table, so whatever row you have clicked, it will initialize it with that one. Okay, and now I'm using that initialized row, and I'm taking the first column. Okay, 0 mean the first column, and because I know that the zeroth column has the student ID, so I read the student ID, and I'm just for the debugging purpose, you can comment this message later on, just to let the user know that you are deleting a student with the ID this. Delete student is the will be the title. Okay, so I am again creating the student manager class object, and then I'm calling its method that delete the student with this name, and then I say that okay, whatever is the latest status of student list, except this deleted one, load it again in the table. Okay, so how we delete it, let's go and go through this section. So you say delete the files, and I have declared the same array, and I'm reading the files, and when I say that okay, this is just the record like which I don't want to remain in the list, so if it is equal to that one, not equal to that one, then keep it in the list, otherwise just skip it. Okay, so when that deleting record will be skipped, so the rest of the list will remain, and I say that okay, write that list again to the file. So over this method, what I am doing is that I am not opening it in the append mode. Okay, note it here, and I am overwriting that file with the new list. So whatever is left, I am overwriting it with that one, and then we just go back, and now let me run this example so that you can visualize it. So I have just run it, and this is my default screen of the application. You see 8 students. Let me delete it, this one, this is the ID is not very good. So I am adding that. Okay, the student I am going to add is okay, let's add with the name FA 20 BCS 001, and the name should be just say Ali. It's very simple to write, easy to write actually. So you say add, and you see your record is added, and it is reloaded in the table. Now let's add another one, this dummy record. Okay, I said okay. Now let's check how it is deleting it. Okay, you have just clicked it, and now the selected row is initialized with value 1, and now I say that okay, delete this record. So it is that dialog, you are deleting a student with ID 1. Okay, if I say okay, so that one is gone, and the rest one is left. So this is how you delete it. The same flow is going for the add transcript. The only difference is that you have a course, GPA, and student list. Okay, so I can debug it so that you also know how to debug in the NetBeans, the Java applications. So let me start it again with the debugging feature, and I'll be adding them along. You see I have set up the breakpoint on adding the transcript record. So I will be just giving you the debugging example of this one. You can do it on your own for the later examples. So now let me right click it, and or you can just say that run as it or just debug project. Okay, you can also debug a single file. So now it will execute it. Now it has been executed, and I say that okay, I'm gonna add a new transcript record. So the transcript record again for the database systems, and this GPA will be like 3.2 for another user of with the registration number 5. Okay, I said add. So now you see the debugger is came here. So now you can go through these this is step over, step into, and step out. These are the debugging options. This is for continue, like if I set the debugger over here and I click this one, it will quickly execute all these steps and come to that next breakpoint. Okay, so now I'm going to one by one. So I have executed the first one, and the course has been read from it. Okay, from my form. Now I say okay, the second one, the GPA is also read it. It is 3.2. Now the student is 005, you see, and now I'm creating the object of the transcript manager, And if I want to go over here, so let's go first here. If I don't have a breakpoint, let's set it up here. I have set up the breakpoint, and now I say okay, continue till here. So we just came here, and now you see that okay, the course is database system, the GPA is 3.2. Okay, and this, you can also right click on this and add to the watch. That's or you can also see it here. You see it is already open, so whatever are your variables, you can see their values and everything. So let's step it over again. We are checking if the file is not existing already, then create it. So the file is created. Now I'm opening it in the appending mode, and I'm again the first column is course, the second one is GPA, and the third one is student ID, and the line ending. Okay, so the next record of the transcript will be added. I said okay, run it to the end. Okay, so it has run it, and the table has been refreshed, and this is the record that we have just added. Okay, so this was the example. What is left for you guys is that you need to implement this method. Okay, delete selected transcript. I have implemented for you this record, so like this functionality, and now your responsibility of lab is to implement this task. Okay, it is mentioned in the lab task or homework exercises. So now let's go back to our problems in the storing data in the files. Okay, so we say there are no standards. What it means is actually that you see that in my file, I can also show you the file in my like where the file is created. I can also show you copy file path, and let's open it in our Explorer. Oh, we are already at that position. Okay, so this is our students file. I can show it to you. You see they are separated with exclamation mark, and this is our transcript file. You see the course name, and then GPA, and then the student registration number. So now we are going to see that what means by the standards. So in case someone open your file directly and he changed this separator with the tilde sign, so do you think your application will still work with this? No, right? Because this line when your application will be reading is he will only separate it by this character, and this will be one value and this will be another value, and for this value when you are going to parse it to the float value, it will throw exception, so your application is just crashed. Okay, so there are no standards that you can implement if someone, and there is no security. Anyone can open your files and just delete them very easily. Okay, and what are the other problems? No standards. The same is like this file cannot be utilized any other application until he use the exclamation mark as a separator. If he says that okay, in my application I have used like the tilde sign or the or sign or something else in my application but not in my data, so this data will not be compatible with that application. Okay, so this means that your application is totally dependent on the format of your file and how you are separating the data values and how the way you are reading it. Okay, where even the column order is also important. You see, if I move in this second record, if I move the GPA record to the first place and the database systems to the second place, also the application will crash. Okay, because it will say that okay, 3.4 is the name and database system is not a float value, so it will crash again. So we just revert our change. So this means no standards in storing the data in files. Data duplication. There is no check on our data, right? You see the student registration number is repeating so many times, and the course is the same, and the GPA is the same. So this is actually a duplication of data. The same record has been added to the file 3 times. This is called duplication. So you should never allow duplication of data in your information systems. Okay, how we are going to restrict it, or how we are controlling this in the DBMS, we will see that, and it's so easy over here, over the DBMS applications. So the third problem is data dependence. So I have already explained it, that how your application is dependent on the format of the data, on the order of your data items, and even the number of lines. If there are empty lines, or there are some other irrelevant data in between the lines, so your application will not work with that. Okay, so there is data dependence. You are totally dependent on the format, on the data, on their order. Okay, so there is data dependency in managing your data in files. Okay, no way to generate complex queries. So for the complex queries, I am going to give you a simple example. Like I have implemented two informations for you. Like for the database systems, I say that for the course database systems, what is the number of student? Okay, I click on it, and it said that okay, the number of student is 4. Yes, we have 4 records, right? But actually the number of student is 2. You see, this is a single student, and this is, so it is not giving me a distinct information. Okay, it is giving me wrong data. And the same if I am I'm going to generate the average CGPA. So I click on the average, and the average is 3.35. okay, so how I am generating this information from this data? I have written special algorithm for it. It is not so easy. Like let me show you how I'm doing it. When you click on it, so over here I have to read that okay, which course user has typed, and now go to the transcript manager and run this function and provide it the course, and it will return me the average value. And we go here and we say that okay, the number of students, then GPA sum, and then I'm iterating every record, and at the end I'm returning that okay, the number of students are greater than 0, then divide the GPA on the number of students. Okay, and that will be the average. Okay, and if the number of students is 0, then just return 0 average CGPA. So you see, for this information generation, like what is the average GPA of the class, I have written a special algorithm. There was no way to generate this information without writing any code. And the same is also like for getting the number of students for a specific subject, database system or whatever, right? So you have to go through, and then you have to build your logic and then generate your information from these algorithms, right? For every type of information you have to write your algorithm. So there is no generic way. What is the problem? This is the problem, that no way to generate complex queries. So we used to have two queries, like how many number of students in database course, and the second query was that what is the average GPA of the class. Okay, so for such queries you have to write your special algorithms. And the last one is that no provision for concurrency, security, and recovery. We will also discuss these terminologies later on in our other lectures, but for the moment, concurrency mean at the same moment two different applications wants to open your data file. Only one will be allowed, right? If he open it, if that application open it in the edit mode. So another application will be given the error that the application is already, the file is already in use and you cannot open it. So this means concurrency. Now what if the transcript file is required to be read by every student, and there are 30 students at the same moment? So it is not possible in the file based systems. Okay, so that was also a problem. Security, you don't know that who can change the files. Okay, they can easily get the access to the file, and they can delete it very easily if he has the administrator rights on your files. And recovery, if you delete anything from the text file, there is no way to recover your previous deleted data. So there is no provision for recovery of your data. Okay, so these are the major problems with files, and the purpose of this lab was that you should realize these problems exist in manipulating your information, your organization data and files. So to avoid these things, in the next lab we will be studying how we do this simple case study in DBMS and how effectively we can generate information from that. Now the last part of the lab is that implement the transcript delete functionality that I have asked you while I was executing the application. Now we want to generate some information from the data we have in files as inquired below. You have to do these two more tasks. Okay, so the first task is that display the number of students who studied database systems. I have already given you the solution for this actually. And now the second one is what is the average GPA from transcript file for a course name asked from the. So these two can be replaced with these informations. Okay, how many students failed and what is the average CGPA, how many courses are passed by Muhammad. Okay, so these two are a bit of the challenging task for you guys that you should implement. Okay, so your second task is to give me the information or generate the information about how many courses are passed by Muhammad. Now how you will do it, let me guide you for this. By Muhammad. Okay, so from the students file you will have to find what is its student ID, and then against this ID you will go through all the record, and if the ID match then you increment your counter, and then at the end you can tell me that okay, Muhammad has read that much of the number of courses. Okay, and also there is a condition of past courses. Okay, so you will also have a check on the GPA that if the GPA is greater than or equal to 2 then he is passed, otherwise he has failed. You should not consider that course. Okay, so you should also take care of this condition. Now what is the last query? How many students were failed in operating system? So how many, this one is easier. You just have to check that okay, if the course name is operating system and the GPA is less than 2, it means he has failed, and just increment your counter and display it. Okay, so I hope you will be updating this code. I will share it with you on subexpert.com, and then you will be able to update this code such that you add these 3 tasks as a homework to this application, and I will randomly ask from any of the class student to show me the outcome before the next lab. Okay, the deadline for these 3 tasks is to complete them before the next lab, which is in the next week. Okay, so that's it for the today's lecture.